And she said, I woke up and there was a red light just over the foot of your bed.
Welcome to the very first episode of the Unlocking the Soul podcast. Today we're going to look at the phenomenon of orbs. Now, anyone who takes a skeptical look toward the paranormal or inexplicable, they find orbs to be easy pickings, because just like UFO sightings, there's very often a scientific or mechanical explanation for these sightings of orbs. Now, the most common, anytime there's a bright light in the shot itself, usually the sun, there's going to be either a light leak in the camera or there's a lens flare as the sun shines through the lens and then reflects off of the glass and has multiple images, very often leaving a glowing circle in any image or video. So immediately I discount any image that has the sun in the shot. Too easy. But now second, at nighttime or in a dark room, anytime you see usually multiple small circles moving around, it's usually one of two things. It's either dust, and the flash from the camera is reflecting off the dust, or it's an insect that flies through the foreground where the light is the brightest. And both of those would be out of focus, so they result in a nice, smooth, round image. They move fleetingly across, sometimes even change directions, as bugs and dust in the wind would do. Now, my third screening category would be orbs that appear on video and camera that are not seen by would-be witnesses that are in the vicinity of the event. Now, you could say, well, perhaps the entity showed itself in a very subtle way. It needed to be picked up by more sensitive equipment than the human eye. But the problem there is you're not going to convince any skeptics because cameras and video have already been implicated in the first two categories. And there's numerous phenomenon that could be explained by such a malfunction, and even if we don't fully understand how the camera or video is producing the effect, it could still be happening. So the fourth category is what interests me. That's when people witness the event firsthand. Whether or not it's also recorded, just having witnesses, and more than one, that can see the event, and very importantly, it has to be a situation that cannot be explained by a weather event, such as ball lightning. And we'll talk more in detail about ball lightning shortly. So today I have the pleasure of introducing two witnesses to a very interesting a series of orb sightings. Let me introduce Ken Jones and Etienne Trujillo, retired school teachers from California. Educated, well-traveled, pillars of their community, Ken and Etienne are by all accounts very credible witnesses.
Legit,
yes, thank you. And Ken, please start us off and set the scene for us for your first orb sighting. When, where did it happen, and then what did you see?
Okay, the first two sightings actually were in the same general area of the building, which is where I grew up as a kid. And my parents had this suburban home with a building that had been a barn. Actually, had been a cow milking shed with the previous owner. But anyway, that had been converted by my father into a garage and a single bedroom living area with a little living room.
And a bedroom.
And a bedroom, yeah. A little kitchenette kind of thing there.
What city was this in?
This was in Chico, California. It's in far northern California, about a 2-hour drive north of Sacramento, in the Sacramento Valley, Chico. And it's a college town. So there's a state college there, and it's a town for roughly 100,000 people now.
What time of day and what did you see?
These were all night sightings, which was good because of the light that we saw. And I remember seeing, as we were in bed, seeing what appeared to be lights, and I thought, well, there must be somebody outside with a flashlight or something, snooping around for the stuff out there. It was a gardening area with a lot of garden equipment there. So that's what I thought, and then I realized, wait a minute, this light is, if it's coming in from outside, it should be displayed on the wall opposite. It should be, the beam should go through the room and hit the wall. But the beam seemed to stop in midair, and it was kind of floating, and it didn't make it to the wall. That was very strange. We couldn't quite, and as I recall, Etienne, you had the same general feeling. The oddity was the way the...
What happened, we were asleep, and I woke up, and about, I would say 7 feet, 6.5 feet up in the air towards the foot of the bed. There was about a 3.25 half, something like that, inch disc of kind of pinkish-red light. And it was very calm feeling there. I wasn't frightened at all. I turned towards where Ken. I said, are you awake? And he said, yes. And I said, do you see something? He said, yes, a light. And, I didn't know what to make of it. I still really don't know what to make of it. And then we just kind of looked at it, and it stayed there. And then all of a sudden, it just kind of dissipated. And we went to sleep, and we didn't really talk about it. But then, a couple weeks later, we were sitting in the other room, the living room. I don't know if it was couches or chairs. And all of a sudden, at night again, there was this light up about 9 feet, because this is a barn roof there. It didn't have a lower roof like the bedroom did. And we saw the light again. And we didn't really talk about it, didn't tell anybody about it, because I think our brains just didn't know what to make of it. I went through the same process he did. At first, I thought it was somebody's taillights, which is kind of ridiculous because it's a 3-acre piece of property and there's no street that a car could be going on in the direction that would have lights, and there's a fence at the back anyway that was like 5 feet tall, and so that didn't really figure. So my brain, I think, didn't know what to make of it, so I just didn't think about it.
And then where the story gets really interesting is tell us about the additional sighting that you were told about.
Yeah, so I was not thinking of anything about this at all, and about, a month later, I went up to my grandmother's house, which is about a 2.25 hour drive away from Chico up in the mountains. And she was elderly, and she had her bedroom, and my grandfather slept in my old bedroom when I had gone there as a child. And there was a twin bed that was perpendicular at the other end of her bedroom. So when she was lying in bed, she was facing my bed. And in the morning, I got up for breakfast, and she said, a very strange thing happened last night. And I said, oh, what was that? And she said, I woke up and there was a red light just over the foot of your bed, kind of just shining there. And I just said, oh. And I don't know that I really told her much more than that, other than, yeah, I think I saw that, in Chico. I didn't really go into it. And over the years, I just never thought about it at all. Until maybe, because this happened in 1972, I think it was. And so, 50 plus years ago, in the last, say, 20 years or so, I've mentioned it in conversation with mostly relatives. I don't think we've told more than 10 people, like maybe 5 times, 2 couples, his brother and wife, my mom, not my stepdad, and a couple, my daughter and son-in-law, and some friends, when the conversation kind of turned that direction, because I don't have any idea. My brain just kind of under the rug because I don't know what to make of it. When I was in college at San Jose, I'm living with my mother. I was standing in the living room, and the whole family saw a red light shooting out of my head. I don't want to talk about that.
That's relevant.
Yeah, I know it, but I don't want to. That's
a third encounter with a red.
I know it. It's so, but nothing in like almost 50 years now. So whatever it was, they gave up on me. Yeah, that's pretty weird.
How old was that?
When did that happen? That was 1968.
How old were you?
I was 19.
And everyone in your family saw it, right?
Well, by everyone, I mean my mother and Renee, and I guess Eloise. I don't know about the boys. But we were all in the living room, and I was standing there, and they go, there was just a red light out of your head. Sort of, they kind of said, sort of, maybe, I don't know. I have never talked about it with anybody. I think it's kind of actually important that Ken's not a believer. I don't know about now, but was not a believer in any of this kind of stuff, and rather, very skeptical. Whereas I had already had this red light experience, but I didn't make a connection there until probably years later. I had never even thought about this red light thing that we saw in Chico. I just didn't mention it to anybody, didn't think about it for probably 20 years.
And some might suggest that this could be ball lightning. So I reviewed some of the common features attributed to ball lightning, so I want to ask a few questions. Was there any lightning storm or storm activity during any of these sightings?
No, no, not at all. This was, I mean, there are some storms up in the mountains, but there wasn't one that weekend, nor was there any in Chico. No, it was just summer weather, clear.
Okay, and what color, again, was the balls that we're seeing?
It was kind of a slight pinkish red and very still. The whole experience was very still. As I said, calming. It wasn't frightening. It wasn't particularly invigorating. It was just sort of there.
So often ball lightning is described as being red, orange, or yellow, but it also is described as having rotational motion and even arms reaching out from it and connecting to electrical conducting materials around it. Did you have any sense of any of those types of?
No, no, no. It was no.
No, it just seemed like this thing was floating in the air, and it didn't seem to have much going on there. Really, there's no motion to speak of.
In fact, I didn't really see it as a sphere. I saw it more as a two-dimensional disc. But that I couldn't. I mean, I didn't walk around it. I just was there looking up my two cases and sang for my grandmother.
Ball lightning is often described as being spherical or pear-shaped, but always three-dimensional. And when it dissipated, sometimes ball lightning is described as being explosive or leaving a blast of heat, a smell of ozone or sulfur. Do you have any experience like that?
No, just it was there, and we woke up. It was there, and then it was. After a while, it just kind of was gone.
And then, of course, it seems pretty obvious so far, but ball lightning is often described as either killing or maiming people that encounter it. There's a lot of accounts of sailing ships where ball lightning during storms comes and results in deaths and severe burns. But it sounds like this was a very peaceful, safe encounter.
It was, in fact, I mean, I just felt a calmness, and that, hearing about it, you'd think, well, wouldn't you be freaked out? But I didn't, and I didn't have any thoughts like, somebody might say, whoa, maybe it was a ghost. Well, it could have been, but I didn't even think that. Or it could have been some thing from another dimension or whatever. I didn't think that. I just thought nothing. I just thought, well, there it is. That's the only thought I had.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing your account. So let me leave you with the features of this discussion that resonate with me the most. First, there's no camera or electronic equipment involved that could have malfunctioned or caused what these people saw. And second, even more interesting, the events happened in multiple geographies, in multiple structures, and even witnessed by multiple people who didn't even know about the first event and the first sighting. And the connection to these individuals implies that there may be some connection as far as a spiritual messenger, someone that is either watching out for them or manifesting in some way. Perhaps there's some spirit that they know that is able to express itself in the 3D world in the way that is perceived as a pink disk of light. And finally, the way that they describe these features, as you heard, does not correlate to weather phenomenon like ball lightning, as many skeptics point to anytime orbs are seen in person. The common features were not shared. So, is it an interdimensional being? Is it some unexplained physical scientific phenomenon that has not yet been explained? No way to know at this point, but one thing is for sure. The universe is more interesting and inexplicable than we currently understand. And whether it's a communication mechanism or a physical phenomenon, either way, it's fascinating to see this occur and to be part of helping document this and share it with you all. So please, if you're interested in my work, continue subscribing to our channel for this podcast. Buy my book on Amazon called Unlocking the Soul, also available as an audiobook. and on Tubi as a documentary, and share this with other like-minded people. Thank you, my friends.